ownership. Imagine waking up and looking at your digital movie collection and realizing half, maybe even all, are gone. They just vanished. And then you realize, wait, like I purchased these. Don't I own these? But alas, you do not. And that leads into today's video about how physical media isn't just a hobby anymore. It's a rebellion against an approaching new world order that doesn't want you to own anything and wants you to rent every aspect of your life. What's rockin'? I'm Rockin' Wilson. A quick backstory. I've been collecting physical media my whole life. I have video games, granted, not a big collection. I'm not that big of a gamer, but I have some. I mainly collect, like Blu-rays and 4Ks. That's my bulk. I have some books, graphic novels. So I've been collecting them since I was, forever. Since I was a kid. It's always been a part of my life, and it seems that in the ever so increasing future that we're getting less and less of it, and honestly, it's getting kind of scary, which I think perfectly leads into the next point, and that is which happened with the whole Sony PlayStation thing that happened a couple weeks ago. So if you've been living under a rock, or just not online like everyone else is, if you do not know, a couple weeks ago, there's two things. The first thing is PlayStation just randomly deleted, I think it was 500 movies from people's accounts. Just boom, gone. They just took them off. No warning, they didn't send an email saying, hey, we're gonna take these off in the coming weeks. Make sure you download them to a flash drive. Maybe get the disc, something else. They give you an alternative. Nope. Just randomly one night they said, boom, took off 500 movies. So this was the post they put out. So as of September 1st, 2026, which is, I think, basically a month away from this video, due to our content licensing agreement, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Studio Canal content, and the content will be removed from your library. Thank you to PlayStation Store. So this was basically part of one licensing agreement with Studio Canal, which is one of the biggest, I think they're over in the UK, I guess physical media, Blu-ray disc, companies, and they restore Blu-rays and all that. So this is just from one company, not all, but 500 from one company. That's a lot. So just because they didn't renew their licensing, they didn't do their job, or they didn't, for whatever reason they didn't want to, they didn't find the I guess the necessary means to, whatever, for whatever the reason is, they just deleted it. And like I said, no warning. They didn't give the people that purchased that. They gave no warning. No warning. Just deleted. Just deleted it. And I mean, I don't have a PlayStation account, so this didn't affect me. But I would be pissed if this happened. Imagine granted, maybe some people didn't buy all 500, but let's just say a lot of people bought a lot. Let's just say on the low end, I don't know what the cost is. $10. Okay, 10 times 500. That's 5,000. That is a lot of money people spent, and Sony just took it away. Dude, that is messed up. And then on top of that was the first thing. The second one, the 1-2 punch Sony did, was this. Physical disc production ending in January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles. So not only did they take away 500 movies from their store that you purchased, they are also, which 2.5 years? No, 1.5 years. 2.5. Anyway, in January 2028, they are stopping physical disc production, and they're going full digital, which also kind of it makes sense why now the new GTA 6 coming out is going to be digital only, which that one, it's a large file, so I can kind of understand, because the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they don't have the processing power, so I can kind of see it for that one. But the overall big picture is this is bad. And I'm not a heavy gamer, PlayStation nerd, so I won't talk about it here. There's plenty of other videos out on the internet for you to talk about, but it ties into physical media and the overall point of this video, and that is they don't want you to own anything. It's the classic, you will own nothing or be happy, which, fun fact actually, that famous video, when the World Economic Forum came out and said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That video is approaching its 10-year anniversary, which I just found this out this morning. So you'll own nothing and you'll be happy is a controversial phrase from a 2016 essay in a video by the World Economic Forum. So it's August 6th right now. So on November 12th of this year, so November 12th, 2026, that video phrase will be 10 years old. And man, dude, it does not feel that long. It feels a lot. It feels like it was a lot sooner than that. Wow. They've been pushing this for a while. Which leads to the next question. Why do they not want you to own anything? Well, it's simple. It's one word. Control. They want control. The whole Sony thing, they want control over its players. They want their customers to buy the balls. They want to control what you see, how you see it, what type of stuff you see. They want full control. And for the longest time, they didn't have it. And now it looks like in the so coming future, that's becoming more and more reality. Let's take movies. You're seeing movies now get edited. One example, which there's multiple, I can't go down the list, but one example is Crocodile Dundee. So, which if you haven't seen it, it is like an 80s comedy. It's great. It is so good, and it has a few scenes that, well, I don't think they're bad, but let's just say sensitive people in today's world do not like. And when it came out recently on 4K, the first movie came out on 4K recently, they altered some scenes. And I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't think they told anybody that before releasing it. It wasn't until people bought it and watched it and realized, hey, this is different. I could be wrong on that. I'm not 100% sure, but it's either that or it happened in another movie. But anyway, it happened. So if you want the original, you have to basically just stick with the Blu-ray, which nowadays I think like the difference between 4K and Blu-ray, it's pretty much the same. Like, not the same. It's not that big of a difference in some movies. Sometimes it's a big difference, but most of the time it's not really for like the average person. But that's just one. The censoring stuff they do not like, and sometimes they're outright just banning stuff. Recently we had Citizen Vigilante. It came out in Europe. It was banned in certain countries. Now, granted, I think it's been since reversed or I guess eased in some countries that they were banned in. I could be wrong. I kept seeing, oh, it's banned, oh, it's unbanned. So I don't know. But that was another one they tried to ban, and not even movies. Just talk about books, which leads into a good example, and that is right here. So this is, see this. This is The Camp of the Saints, which is a book that came out in 1973. And if you do not know what this book is about, let me just read you the synopsis on the back. Okay. A migrant fleet, a million strong, sets sail from Calcutta, its destination Europe. As the fleet advances, the continent is submerged under a torrent of words. Will the old nations of Europe resist the migrants or welcome them, honor their past or embrace their radiant future, open fire or open their hearts, enthusiasm, delusion, cowardice, and finally panic? The migrants make landfall. Oh, you can see why this got banned. This book was heavily banned around the time it came out, which was, like I said, 73. And just recently, it gotten like a new. This is like the new, I guess English new maybe even the first time I think like English translation of the book, and it's by Vauban Books did the translation, and this came out literally just like a few months ago, and all of a sudden one day it was actually pulled from Amazon. They just took it down. No warning, they just took it down. Now, thankfully, in this book's case, there was such immense backlash from all different angles that they eventually put it back up, for sale, which is where I got it. I got this about 2 weeks ago. So this is one example of how they don't want to control it. They just outright ban it or take it down so you can't even buy it. Thankfully, it's a physical copy, not digital. And like I said, I can go more and more into depth about all the different things, but if I did, we'd be here forever. But it all ties into ownership. It goes back to that saying, they do not want you to own anything. They want control. And that, at the end of the day, is why physical media matters. It matters because it gives you, the consumer, the power. It gives you all the cards, and they do not like it. Like, take Blu-rays, for example. There is something, and people who don't collect physical media in terms of Blu-rays, you can't really describe it to them. There is nothing quite like looking at the collection you made, browsing through this title, find one you like and go, you know what? Yeah, that's right. Like, it is the greatest feeling in the world. And all my other physical media collectors, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You standing there like, yeah, I did this. And sometimes it could go even deeper than just looking. And there's sometimes could be memories, involved with those, Blu-ray discs or any type of video games, books, doesn't matter. I'm just saying Blu-rays because that's the thing I have, the most, examples of. Maybe a friend lets you borrow it and says, hey, maybe you should keep it. I'll let you keep it, or you get it to as a gift, or you find a good deal at a pawn shop. Like, those are memories. And speaking of memories, this actually leads into a good example I'm going to show. I'll be right back. Okay, so I found these. This ties into the memories, and that is like these, for example, for me. So these are all old like Godzilla movies on DVD, like Gigan, Sea Monster, Son of Godzilla. Like, there's that. You got some more here. I'll show. I'll do this. Like, yeah. With their spines, like these are all ones. You got like a box set here of a lot of them. There you go. That's upside down. Sorry. Here, like, and I don't remember where exactly all these are from, but like Hollywood Video, Blockbuster, pawn shops. Like, these have memories of like going to pawn shops with my dad and like finding these. I remember. Ooh, where is it? Where's the one? Final Wars, which was like the 50th, anniversary of Godzilla. I remember finding this at a pawn shop. This was the one I've never seen before, and I saw it at a pawn shop, and I freaked out. I'm like, Dad, we gotta get it. And he's like, I haven't seen it either. Let's get it. And I'm gonna trail off and think about memories, but that is an example of like, in all of it. That's just one example. There's all these other ones here. But like, that's an example of a memory. I had that shared memory with my dad, as I do with a lot of other movies. Now, there is more I could dive into, such as like, the quality difference, how a disc has more quality because it holds more memory than a streaming server, like a streaming, line anyway. How like, you don't need an internet connection, so you don't got to worry about the stream buffering and stopping or sometimes shutting down, which just happened to me a few weeks ago when I tried to show my dad Project Hail Mary for the first time because he hadn't seen it. And the Amazon stream, I don't know what the problem was, but it just shut down. Like, all of a sudden out of nowhere, and like we couldn't get it back up. All the other apps were working, but for some reason Prime was just spazzing out, so that sucks. That's another example of how physical media is better, is you don't have that problem. Now, you do have that problem, well, I guess, if the power goes out, which I think you got bigger problems if that happens, but that happens very, very, few times compared to like the stream buffering, so to speak. At the end of the day, guys, it all comes back to that one word: ownership. They do not want you to own things so they can control you. And it's not just with like entertainment, like physical games, movies. It's not just that. They want rent. They want car. Like, there's car services now where you buy a car, and if you want to unlock certain features like heated seats, you got to pay a subscription fee. And also like a printer, which you can't see, it's right here. But I looked into getting a new printer because I'm like, mine's kind of old. There are some printers now where you have to buy a printer, have a subscription for the printer, and also have a separate subscription for the ink. You have to have two different subscriptions to print paper. What are we doing here? And I wouldn't be surprised if in the future they start regulating stuff like, Uber Eats. Like, we don't like what you post, so you can't have Uber. Now, granted, people say, hey, that's an extreme, that won't happen. Maybe. I mean, crazy things have happened. I wouldn't put them past them in this crazy world. They are going to try to do anything and everything to have control over our whole lives. And this whole move, like what PlayStation did, is one step towards that. And if we're not careful, we're going to be, it's going to be a dystopian world. Some will argue we already are, which I would argue no. We still do have some, rights in terms of ownership. But if we're not careful, all that stuff, what I did, this whole video about, the memories I have with the DVDs, that book, it's all going to go away. They're going to have complete control, and there's nothing we can do about it. And that, at the end of the day, is why physical media, and more importantly, ownership, matters.